You've probably heard of Miyamoto Musashi. He's often considered the greatest samurai in history. He fought 61 duels and never lost a single one. That alone says something about the level of mastery, focus, and discipline this man had. Musashi wasn't only a warrior, he was a philosopher, an artist, and a man who dedicated his entire life to the perfection of body, mind, and spirit. Just 1 week before his death, he wrote a short but powerful book, the Dokkōdō, which translates roughly to The Path of Walking Alone. It's not a long text, just 21 short principles. But inside those few words lies a lifetime of reflection and clarity, the distilled wisdom of a man who had walked through chaos and emerged victorious. Today, I want to share with you the first 5 principles of that work, because understanding them can reshape the way you see discipline, success, and life itself. By the end of this video, you'll not only understand the mindset of a true samurai, but also learn ways of thinking that you might have never considered before. Musashi's first principle says, accept everything exactly as it is. That sounds simple, but it's one of the hardest things a human being can do. Most people spend their lives resisting reality, fighting what already is. We deny our failures, we distort facts, we lie to ourselves just to avoid pain. But when you refuse to accept things as they are, you become trapped in illusion. And when you live inside an illusion, every action you take is misaligned with reality and therefore doomed to fail. True discipline begins when you stop fighting the truth, when you see things for what they truly are, not what you wish they were. A disciplined person accepts the truth, even when it hurts, because they know that only by working with reality can they change it. Musashi understood this deeply. When he faced an opponent, he didn't waste energy wishing the battle were easier. He adapted to it. He observed every movement, every breath, every opening. He accepted what was, and from that acceptance came clarity, and from clarity, victory. The second principle says, do not seek pleasure for its own sake. In other words, don't make pleasure the goal of your life. Because when pleasure becomes your purpose, discipline dies. We live in an age where everything tempts us with quick satisfaction: food, entertainment, social media, sex, noise, distraction. But the more we chase instant pleasure, the weaker we become. Pleasure is not evil in itself. Musashi wasn't against enjoying life. He simply understood that pleasure must be a byproduct of meaningful effort, not the purpose of existence. The disciplined person seeks long-term fulfillment, the kind that comes from growth, mastery, and overcoming challenge. It's the pleasure of finishing a hard day's work, of mastering a skill, of keeping a promise to yourself. That's real satisfaction. As Musashi would say, don't chase the sweetness of the fruit, focus on growing the tree. Because if you nurture the roots, the fruit will come naturally. The third principle says, do not depend, under any circumstances, on a partial feeling. That means, don't trust half-truths, don't act based on incomplete emotions. When you feel uncertain, don't rush to decide. Wait, observe, reflect. Musashi believed that indecision comes from confusion, and confusion is a signal that your mind is not yet ready to act. A wise person waits until the fog clears before drawing the sword. We often make impulsive choices because we want relief, not truth. We choose to act, not because we're ready, but because we want to stop feeling doubt. But real strength lies in patience, in the ability to pause until the right moment arrives. Musashi would say, act once, but act only when you're certain. Because one strike made with full clarity is worth more than 1,000 random swings made in confusion. The fourth principle says, think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. This is perhaps one of the most profound lessons Musashi left us. When you think too much about yourself, you shrink your perception. You become obsessed with your image, your pride, your insecurities. You start to believe the world revolves around your thoughts and feelings, and that's the beginning of weakness. Musashi saw the self as a tool, not a temple. He believed that true understanding comes not from analyzing yourself endlessly, but from observing the world and how your actions shape it. You don't understand yourself by thinking, you understand yourself by acting. by seeing how your behavior affects others, by learning through interaction, through failure, through creation. A disciplined person doesn't ask, "Who am I?" They ask, "What can I do?" Because through doing, through movement, the self reveals its nature. So think lightly of yourself, your ego, your pride, your image, and think deeply of the world, because it's there that truth lives. And finally, the fifth principle, be detached from desire throughout your life. Musashi and the Buddha agreed on this. Attachment is the source of suffering. When you desire something and don't have it, you suffer because of the lack. When you finally have it and lose it, you suffer because of the loss. Either way, attachment creates chains, but detachment doesn't mean apathy. It doesn't mean you shouldn't care about anything. It means you can want something without being owned by that want. You can chase your goals with focus and passion, but if they don't come, you stay at peace. That's real freedom. The disciplined person still has dreams, still has ambition, but they are not prisoners of their desires. If they win, they stay calm. If they lose, they stay calm. Because what matters most is the inner state, not the external result. And when you stop clinging, when you let go, your energy returns. Your focus sharpens. You become unstoppable, not because you're cold, but because you are free. Musashi's life itself was the proof of these teachings. He wandered through Japan with nothing but a sword, a brush, and his mind. He lived in solitude, studied nature, and sought truth in simplicity. He understood that mastery comes not from the comfort of success, but from the discipline of walking alone. Every duel he fought, every defeat he avoided, every lesson he learned, all of it was built on the foundation of these principles. Now imagine applying even one of them in your life for the next 30 days, accepting things as they are, choosing effort over instant pleasure, thinking deeply before acting, observing the world instead of judging yourself, and letting go of your attachments. What kind of person would you become? How much more control would you have over your mind, your habits, your emotions? The truth is, Musashi didn't just write about discipline, he embodied it. He lived as a man completely responsible for himself, guided not by comfort but by purpose. And in a world like ours, full of distractions, excuses, and endless noise, his words are more relevant than ever. So remember his lessons. Accept reality. Do not chase pleasure. Do not act from confusion. Think less about yourself and more about the world. Detach from desire and stay free. You don't need to be a samurai to live by these principles. You just need courage. The courage to walk your own path, even if it means walking alone. And who knows, maybe by following this path, you'll discover a version of yourself that's stronger, calmer, and infinitely more disciplined than you ever thought possible.